here for the last 2 days, so they'll kind of run it. I'll be involved, helping with it a little bit. If I see something, I'll blow a whistle here or there, but for the most part, that'll kind of be the format, so spot the minus 30, ones versus ones, twos versus twos, threes versus threes, then you go to the 50, then the plus 25, we'll do a backed up, we'll do a 10-yard line plus 10 going in, and then a 2-minute is kind of the plan. So anyway, I'd like to put about 35 or 40 reps on them, and we'll go, and we'll compete. So we're pretty excited about this day. Questions?
Rocky got nicked up in practice yesterday. Just anything, any kind of update there, any long-term concern?
Yeah, no long-term. We'll see how he feels this morning, but he's good. He's good.
Speaking of Rocky, how do you see him take what he's learned from the spring into the first week of camp?
Yeah, well, look, he is growing and he's learning. I just bring it up again. He is new to the position, so I think for him, I think a lot of it is going to be, really the carries. His kind of what he's looking at, his vision, because that's where he's pretty smart. He's pretty instinctive. He's picking up the pass game protections. But I think that's where, man, it's really he's got a huge ceiling to grow. Is carrying the football and reading off blocks and understand where we want it to go and playing ball there. So, which would make sense because he hasn't done a ton of it. So look, he's doing a good job. He's doing good on special teams as well. And the kid's putting in the work. So he's young and he's raw.
And we've talked about before, you guys don't have a lot of roster churn. You kind of really give the guys a leash to show you what they can do, but sometimes injuries necessitate adding somebody to the roster. I'm just curious about the onboard process when you add a guy like Jefferson or Butker here in training camp. They've missed all the OTAs. They maybe don't know any teammates or coaches. It's all new. Like, how do you get them at the start acclimated to feeling like they've got a real shot to win a job?
Man, they get thrown to the fire. I mean, that's the only way you can do it, and really that's kind of the only way to be fair to them. Because if you just wait until, okay, you good? You're totally good? Okay, good. Well, now it's time to move to the next guy. So there's nothing easy about it. But those guys understand that when they sign here. And first of all, Brad does a good job of, if we're going to bring you in, we know you're in good shape. Like, you've been working. We have evidence to say, all right, this guy has not been sitting on a couch, and he goes out there and he's not ready. Now, that being said, we try to be smart with him too. Don't put so many reps on some of these guys that they're not ready for. But we'll give them a crash course in what we do, and we try to be smart. We let them know, hey, listen, we understand you just walked in here, but at least you can function and you can help us a little bit here. That's the best you can do with it. I mean, you try to help them, and you just got to see if they can take what they get and do something with it.
We talked about Dory's Fountain in the past, I think, after the first week, but it seems like every day, Dan, he's making a play. He's getting reps with the first team now. Just what you continue to see from him, and how impressed have you been with how he's played through the first couple weeks?
Fountain makes plays. All right, he is making some plays. Like, you see the one-on-one, he makes a big high catch there. And I think we all are intrigued with Fountain. And I said that, a few days ago. We need to see more out of him. We need to see more. It's got to show up, man. He's got to be detailed in what he does. He's got an unbelievable opportunity here. He knows that, and we got to see it.
Yeah, I think it was Benet last year who let us in on the internal competition these guys have of which rookie class has been the best that you guys have brought in
Who
here.
said this?
Panay, I think, was the first one to reveal it to us. How aware of you are of that competition? And I'm going to ask you point blank, which class to you
Yeah, of course you are.
is definitely your favorite?
Of course you are. Yeah, I can't. Look, I'm not going to answer that. I can tell you this, I know the ones I've been around the longest, and so I know who those guys are for sure. But all the classes mean something to us, man, and all these guys are a little bit different what they bring. But I know this: you'll never forget your first. So.
It's almost like a college environment that these guys take so much pride in being a part of a specific class. Is that special to you at all?
Yeah, I mean, You're just saying in general?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like anything else. It's just another way to compete, right? It's your version of a different version of competing. As you know, our class is just much better than yours, you know. But I think there is to feel like you're part of a special class. You know, it's. I think it's a feather in your cap, you know. So it's just one more thing. I love it. I mean, those guys are. You know, it's constant back and forth, and it's healthy, and it's fun, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know if you yesterday morning, he was high praise for the tight end room, said he feels like it's the best he's been around since he's been in the league. Where do you feel where that room's at right now?
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, when you're talking about from the top to the bottom, I mean, all these guys have got experience, and it's a mix of different abilities, and you know, and that's what fires you up. I mean, it's like when you're thinking right now that, you know, certainly you got Brock and Laporta, and then really the other four guys are, man, it's a competition, and they've all played. I mean, they've banked some reps in this league, real reps on Sundays. So, you know, it's a good group. It's a group that you don't worry about, you know, preseason games, the mental aspect, man, are they going to mess something up here? You know, have a missed assignment and they're all competitive. So that's good. You know, that's a good place to be in, man. It gives you, that way you know you're going to get the best come out of that room, you know, because they can play.
Hey, Dan, I don't know if you were watching the game last night. I got the chance to, but the new kickoff, the way other teams do it or whatever, if you got a chance to see it, and how does it relate, and what do you think about it?
No, so I did see the very first two kickoffs on the tube, and I was going to watch it today after the scrimmage. I was going to pull it up once it's in our system and just take a peek at it. So, you know, I thought it was interesting that I know the first two kicks were the returns were, you know, 25, 26-yard line. You know, so I'm like, okay, and the setup of what the Bears and Houston did was good to see. So, you know, I know Phipp and I are pretty excited about watching it. We're going to check it out this afternoon. So, we'll see.
What were your expectations for Donovan Peoples-Jones coming into camp, and how has he not exceeded, underwhelmed?
Yeah, it was to come in here and compete for that third, fourth receiver. You know, that's what it was. You know, we're looking for. You know, it's a lot. So much of it is, all right, who's going to fill in for Josh Reynolds? You know, who's going to take that, and is it by committee, or is there a guy that can is going to step up and kind of become that for us? And so that's kind of what we were looking for, and he's a guy I expect more out of too. You know, and he knows that. Now he's working. He works at it, man. He wants it, but we just need him to take another step here.
What are your expectations for Kirby Joseph entering his third year, especially now that he's healthy?
Kirby, you know, I think he's another one that just, I think consistency from going from year 2 to year 3, you know, because he's, man, every year he's grown a little bit. And I think this year it's, all right, man, it's time to become a staple in this defense and become a very consistent player every week, man. And here's one of the things that I'm really excited about with Kirby. You know, I mean, even when we're doing some of these tackling drills, you see one of the emphasis was keeping your head up, man. You see him working on it. He's working on keeping his head up. He had one of the prettiest tackles of all practice yesterday on that tackling drill. So that's improvement. But his disguises, you know, he's starting the intellect of the position and understanding how he can manipulate the offense and the quarterback. He's evolving, you know, and that's good to see, because that's kind of the next step in his growth, because he's got the ability, he can track the ball, but he can understand what AG wants in this defense and how he's able to, you know, to mess with those guys a little bit. Man, the sky's the limit for him.
Dan, this is the last practice before you guys head out east. From a mentality standpoint, what are you looking to see out of the guys today before those joint practices with the Giants?
Well, look, I think today is, man, this ought to feel, you know, this ought to feel like a preseason game, really. I mean, that's really what it should feel like. I mean, this should be competitive. This should be, they should be hot, and and they should be scratching and clawing for everything they're going to get out of here. So I would anticipate, I'd be shocked if it's not. I mean, these guys are going to go after it. And so it's who's going to win the rep, and then, man, who's going to do, when you get put in these pressure situations, or you get in these moments where, man, you're fatigued, it's hot, and, man, I just went 8 reps in a row. Man, who is going to be able to focus and mentally do their job, man? They're not going to bust an assignment, or the details of what they do, they don't just throw it out the window. They're still trying, even though you're fatigued, you're still trying to, man, I'm going to line up exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm going to break this route exactly where I'm supposed to break it. That's ultimately what you're looking for. The guys that don't, man, they're unfazed, right? And doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, but it's clear that in those moments where some of these things can make you mentally weak, right? That's what fatigue does to you. They can focus in those moments, and they can will their bodies to do what they ask it to do. That's what we're looking for.
Dan, Ben more or less implied yesterday that this might be the stiffest test your offense has had during training camp since y'all have been here. What do you think that does for the offense, and where does it matter most as the season progresses?
I would agree with that statement, and there's a noticeable difference in the that D-line room up front, but also on the back end, and that's where you see the biggest jump right now in both areas. So, I mean, we're getting off blocks. You can see improvement out of players like Mack, Hutch has taken another step, Levi. Certainly Davenport's back out there now, and he's practicing. So, and then with the DBs, man, you feel us challenge. We're challenging on the perimeter, and they're covering pretty good down the field. So, when you do that, you can't help but get better, and so that, I mean, it's only going to make you better offensively, from a physical standpoint, but also schematically, like, you're trying to figure out ways to beat your own defense, or and so how do we scheme this up? How do we do some of this stuff? So it forces you to think, it forces you to, how do I get the leg up on those guys, and then that when you're the head coach, that's what you want. You want this constant chess match going on where you're getting tested and you're trying to find weaknesses in each other, because that's how you get better. You just keep doing this as you're raising the bar. But I think physically it's going to help those guys. Help those guys up front. We feel pretty confident about this old line we've got. But when they get tested the way they're getting tested right now, it's only going to make them better. And they can't let off the gas. So it's a good place to be in.
Yeah, earlier in the week you'd mentioned that Jamar Jefferson was having a good camp. Seems like yesterday was also a really strong day for him. So I'm just kind of curious where you've seen his progression through now year 4.
I almost don't want to answer it because I feel like, it's the same thing. I say something about a guy and I feel like it's a kiss of death, because the next practice is Jefferson is in a really good place right now. He's in a really good place.
Just real briefly, have you had a chance to talk to Coach Dayball to organize?
Really good place. Keep going, sorry.
Have you had a chance to talk to Coach Dayball to organize next week?
I have. We discussed. We've been talking since spring, and then we talked earlier this week. Communicated with each other, so we're ready to go. The scripts have been passed. We know how we want to. We already had it kind of set up, but the coordinators got with each other, and so it's ready to go. It's just a matter of us getting out there. But it's going to be good. We're going to get unbelievable work out there. I got a lot of trust in Dayball. He's somebody that I have a lot of respect for, and he's a friend of mine, and I just know that they're going to do things right, and so are we. So we're going to get really, really good work. Excited about it. Okay.